And good afternoon. This is Tim Gillette, and this is the Tim Gillette Show. Hey, I know, the show has my name onto it, but let me tell you, I do the show to interview some of the most interesting people I get to know on the interwebs. Now, these people are on the interwebs, which means they have a website. They probably have a podcast. All right. They probably are doing something with YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and blah, 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 blah. They do all that stuff online. But in some cases, they actually have real businesses that they're trying to connect with people, and they're using their online marketing to connect to their customers. I don't know if that's the case in today's guest, because I really don't know today's guest. As a matter of fact, I had a brief few seconds with her before we went live on air, and I'm going to find out about who she is, what she does, how she helps people, the same way you are, live on air. Anyway, I'm Tim Gillette, your host. Let's bring up here Dina. And Dina, I'm not even going to try that last name. Why don't you tell us what it is?
It's Robitaille. It's French. It's actually my grandmother's maiden name. I chose it when I got divorced.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, isn't that the great thing about when you get divorced, you get to choose the new name?
That's right. That's right. I actually took my stepfather's name and my grandmother's maiden name.
Oh, wow. Wow. Mm-hmm. So, and you only had to get divorced to be able to figure out to do that.
I know, right? Apparently you can do it without getting divorced, but it's not as easy.
How many times have you been divorced?
Oh, it's interesting. I actually got married once at 19. I was only married for 4 months, so I count that as a half. So I have been married and divorced 2.5 times.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm divorced twice on marriage 3. All right. And this marriage 3 is the longest lasting marriage. I'm all in favor of 3. Just saying, there's something about that 3 just seems to work out the kinks.
Yes.
So,
the third one is where I learned radical self-love. So it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's interesting. I think my shortest one was 5 months.
Oh, so I beat you.
Yeah. You beat me by a month on that one. So yeah.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, that one, the one that was the short marriage, I'm still kind of friends with.
Oh yeah. I'm friendly with the first one.
Yeah. So the first, no, that was my second one. The first one, I have a daughter with her, but I hardly ever talk to her.
Right.
Figure that one out. Anyway, it's funny how we have to learn these little weird things in life, isn't it?
Right. You just got to take life on life's terms.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of life's on life's terms, all right, let's talk about how many times in life that you've had the ups and downs of life, because you've got some interesting business, I heard.
I do. I have been through a lot, actually. I've lived a lot in my 40 years, and the ups and downs of life. That's just the nature of it. Number one, there's always going to be ups and downs, but I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I survived drug and alcohol addiction. I overdosed 8 times when I was 18. And I will be sober for 2 years on June 24th of 2021.
Sober as in, let me ask you this. I got to say this: sober as in you don't drink anything anymore, or sober as you got control of it?
If you're drinking, you're technically not sober, but doesn't mean you're an alcoholic, of course. But yeah, I don't put any mind-altering substances into my body of any kind.
Not even coffee?
I actually rarely drink coffee. When I first got sober, I was a hardcore coffee addict. I'd been drinking coffee since I was about 14, but I actually used a technique called mapping across from neurolinguistic programming, of which I am a master practitioner, to rewire my unconscious mind to dislike coffee and be able to let it go easily. And I did it in an instant. And I don't drink coffee anymore.
That's like a sin in my world. Okay. You can't give up coffee.
You know what? I drink a lot of tea now. Coffee never made me feel good, but I loved the way it tasted and I loved the ritual. And so I held on to it for about 25 years, but I never really felt good when I drank it. And now I just don't want it. It's kind of amazing.
Wow. And it's interesting. Like, I grew up in an alcoholic family. Now I could probably be classified as an alcoholic. However, I got control of it 20 years ago. I decided 20 years ago I was going to take control of it. And like my wife and I will go to a wine tasting, and I know I like automatically, okay, I'm done, and I stop. And I know when to stop. And it's interesting that I can do that, but I know a lot of people who can't do it. It was learning control for me. That's why I asked, have you given it all up? All right. Because I learned when people say, I'm sober, I can drink and still be sober. So like alcoholic
Yeah.
in my family, my father was known for, like, when everybody showed at the bar, up at the bar at 3 o'clock, my dad was there for a few hours. At midnight, when everybody was getting their car, my dad was still the sober guy helping everybody get home. And he'd been drinking the whole day.
Yeah, so a lot of times, alcoholics, they have such a tolerance, they actually don't really present as drunk even after a 12 pack of beer.
Yeah.
And, in general, people who can stop and have control of their drinking wouldn't be classified as alcoholics in the world of recovery. But I will say, I know for me, the reason that I choose not to drink now is not because I'm an alcoholic. It is because ethanol is straight up poison and it's kind of damaging to my body. And so on the programming level, I just no longer have a desire to drink. When I completed my first breakthrough session as a client with mental emotional release technique, which is what I specialize in, I actually no longer identified as an alcoholic. I identified as recovered and sober.
Yes.
But I no longer identified as an alcoholic.
Awesome. That's so great that when you were able to do that. So let's get off of that. I want to go into some other stuff with you and your business. Now, explain to me what you do for a business.
Oh, this is a really complicated question.
I love the complicated ones. Good.
Yeah. So I've been a hands-on body worker for the past 8 years, and I have dedicated my practice to working with survivors, and specifically survivors of sexual violation, but also survivors from all walks of life, whether it be narcissistic abuse or domestic violence or a horrible car accident where you have PTSD. I've worked with people on the somatic plane in the physical body for years now. I started dedicating my practice to that about 6 years ago. When right before the pandemic hit, I got a very large intuitive hit that it was time to move into a different realm of how I help clients. And I actually ended up attending my first training to become a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming right before the pandemic hit, honestly, on a wing and a prayer. I kind of didn't even know what I was showing up for. And when I got back 2 weeks later, San Diego became a hot zone for COVID, which is where I was located, and the whole world shut down, as well as my massage and bodywork practice. And so I decided to dive right in using social media and the internet to work with clients and to get the word out about what I was doing. And so, for a while I was calling myself a recovery coach, but it's not actually what I do. And I'm definitely not your average life coach. So the work that I do is actually very heavily focused on the programming of the unconscious mind, questioning your story, stepping out of victim consciousness into observer consciousness to live a truly empowered life. And so I call myself a shadow worker because I work with the parts of people's minds that goes largely unseen. It's outside of their range of vision, and I help them by holding up the mirror.
Shadow worker. I'm going to write that one down. I'd never heard that term before. I would trademark that term.
It's actually something that comes from Jungian psychology. And so Carl Jung talked a lot about the shadow. He's the one who introduced it to the Western world. It's been used in shamanic practices and spiritual practices throughout the world for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands probably.
Cool. So, and you know what I mean? It sounds like, you know what I mean? I hate that word that was used during the pandemic last year. It was one of my worst hated words, pivot, but it sounded like you pivoted.
Oh, I pivoted hard. I pivoted like a boss. Actually, I'm a dancer. And so I'm really, and I do a dance called Brazilian Zouk, where if you're not paying attention, your partner will try to pivot you and you will fall on your face. And so I pivot like a boss. I'm really good at that. And so I translated that into what I was doing, and I took a hard pivot.
Cool. And now you are out in the San Diego area, you said?
Yeah, so that's where I did my first training with the Empowerment Partnership. It's now called Empowerment Incorporated. And I learned from Dr. Matt James. He's incredible.
Cool. So I don't know Matt James, but in the NLP world, I know Matt Browning, who's been on the podcast before. I don't know if you know
cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And Matt, really good. So, I mean, it's those people who are really good at it that you can tell by the groups of people who've taken their training and are doing something with it. So that's how you know someone's really good at teaching you.
That's right.
What is it right now that the number one specialty that people are coming to you and your clients that are coming to you? What is their number one problem they're coming to you to get solved right now?
So, something that we talk a lot about in the recovery world is that resentment will kill you. Because resentment is something that just kind of eats away at your soul. And so, what I've realized in the past couple of years and through my own healing process, last year I actually was able to forgive my childhood abuser using the tools of neurolinguistic programming, mental emotional release technique, and a technique called ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian word to describe a forgiveness process that means to make right both ways. And so, what I have developed this year that I'm so excited to be offering is actually a small group opportunity for people where we create a container of safety and vulnerability to move through anger, fear, the relationship between both, and your relationship to them, to move from anger to acceptance. And I just finished up a cohort yesterday, and it was awe-inspiring and humbling and just a huge honor to see the transformation that they made.
Cool. Now, I mean, you're working then one-on-one and in groups, or just one-on-one right now?
Yeah, I do one-on-one. So I have a really special process that I do with clients one-to-one called a rapid breakthrough session. It's done over the course of 2 days. It is a 8 to 10 hour session split over the 2 days. So it is like being put in the pressure cooker, but it's also like being shot out of a cannon in the direction of the life that you want to live. So in that, we release emotional baggage, limiting beliefs, and we help reprogram the unconscious mind using neurolinguistic programming.
Cool. And I guess then, I mean, you've been, since you're not visiting people one-on-one, you've gotten used to a lot of this online stuff with like Zoom and StreamYard and you know what I mean? So now you're basically learned how to run your entire practice where you don't have to dress from the waist down, right?
Yeah, pretty much. However, I am, as you can see, I'm sitting in my massage studio right now. And so when I'm doing hands-on body work, unfortunately, I can't do that virtually. So I am here for that. But other than that, I get to stay at home in my pajamas with my dog, and it's been glorious.
Well, I mean, if you figure out how to do a hands-on massage for me over the internet, let me tell you, I'm paying for that.
Yeah.
When you figure that one out, all right, I'm in. I'm pulling the credit card out.
I'm not sure we'll ever figure that one out.
But you know what I mean? Yeah, I have two different massage people that I see, and I actually have one of my clients is a massage therapist as well as, and she's doing a lot of holistic health and eating with hers. But you know, I find that techniques that between the two girls I use that are so different. You know, one of them is holistic and not just, you know, easing the muscles up, but, you know, mind, body, spirit. And the other one is I'm here to change the function of your muscles. And that's it. All right. Over the years, have you gone one way or another in those two realms?
I mean, I would say I don't know that they're necessarily separate. I think that practitioners each have their own doorway. Depending on the client, I don't know. That's hard to explain because I practice something called neurokinetic therapy. I work with functional neurology. I work with functional movement. But then I'm also very deeply entrenched in the metaphysical and also the energetic aspects of therapeutic touch. So I'm kind of a blend of all of the above, but I'm definitely not a beat the snot out of you massage therapist. That's not what I do.
Yeah. Well, you know, mine really doesn't beat me up. My one that was helping my muscle. I mean, and she's the one that, and I have epilepsy, and I had a seizure in 2016, and I had to go to her for it was like once and twice a week for 8 months because literally at a 50-year-old man to have a seizure after not having one for 18 years, it was sore on my body like you wouldn't believe. And she was able to get the muscles worked out, whereas the other girl that I see, it comes down to sometimes that the pain that I'm experiencing roots into a mental issue. So she's got me doing breathing techniques. She's got me, you know what I mean, doing muscles. All right. Humming. I mean, one time she had me hum. I'm like, why? She goes, I don't know why. I still don't understand it, but it fixed the problem in my hip. And it was something she knew about from doing body and touching the body and working the mind together. And I don't know how well you know your clients to know that, hey, just hum a tune while I do this.
Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff that happens in the bodywork room where I'm like, I don't really know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. And usually they end up feeling better.
Yeah. Is it like an intuition that you get
it's
knowing
an intuition.
the people? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something called clairsentience
Mhm.
and cognizance. And so claircognizance is just a knowing that people have when you're an intuitive, and clairsentience is the ability to feel in your physical body. So sometimes I can actually feel it through my arm or my fingertips or even in my neck. And sometimes I can feel things that I know are not mine, and that can give me a clue sometimes also.
Cool. So we've gotten Sharon here. I don't know if you know Sharon's been making quite a bit of comments here. So I want to come back and pull some of her comments up on here. So anyway, first of all, I want to go to this one here that when we asked about wearing clothes, she just goes skirtless, she said. I go skirtless too, Sharon. You know what I mean? Anyway. Path shadows, touch hands on. I'm not sure what she meant by that. But pain sucks. It hurts. Yes, I will tell you a lot of pain really sucks in my life. How much, with what Sharon's there, how much emotional pain are you helping get out, knowing the fact that you had your past trauma?
I'll tell you, hands-on body work was a big part of what I do, but something that I also do with my clients is something that it's intuitive. I learned it some from working with a mentor of mine in my own healing journey. But we use a set of verbal skills, and this work can actually be done over Zoom. It can be done in a virtual call as easily as in person. It does not have to be hands-on.
Mhm.
But when people are carrying trauma in the physical body and the energy body, we actually have a way of talking them through the process to actually release it from the body by acknowledging it, allowing it, giving it permission to do what it needs to do. And so that's a set of verbal skills where I walk people through where it is in their body, what shape is it, what color is it, what does it want to do. And that process has been really fascinating to watch. I've had people who had back pain for 20 years, and after the process, their back pain went away and never came back.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hear this, and we think neuro linguistic programming. The first time I'd ever heard that term was another buddy of mine out in California, Michael, and he talked about how he got into it by starting to study. What was it that he started to study? He was starting to study something because he realized it, and it led him to down this path. And what do they call that? Hypnotherapy and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist.
Yeah, so like the hypnotic training and hypnotic stuff, and like, you know what I mean, you can't help but think of the gimmicks you see on stage of this, like, you know, hypnosis they put you in.
Mm-hmm.
And many times I'd like to go, yeah, can you put me in that hypnosis state and make me forget like what I did in my 20s?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not the way it works.
I know. I wish it would, but the way they shall we say, the way they make fun of it on TV in movies and stuff like that, you think that. But in reality, you know, there are some techniques to that are true that I'm sure you're helping people with that really do help them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So stage hypnosis is actually real also.
Yeah.
To be successfully hypnotized, you just have to be good at following directions. And the fun fact about hypnosis and trance, which is what hypnosis is, it is simply a state of brainwave patterns. And so when you go into trance, that's actually a natural state that you go into about every 90 minutes. So everybody's capable of being hypnotized, but not everybody's willing to follow directions. So the process of hypnosis is simply a process that will allow you to be guided into a gentle state of trance. And you can be taken deeper and deeper, but stage hypnosis is kind of a different thing, for sure.
I think this is why I've never been able to be hypnotized, is because I don't follow directions very well.
Oh yeah, you would be a very tough hypnosis case for sure.
That makes sense now, because again, I am a person who is in control. We go back to the alcohol conversation. I'm someone who's very in control of my life, so that could be why I've always had problems with it, because I've heard people say, "Oh, no, I can do that," and yet everybody who's tried falls flat.
Yeah, you know, in hypnosis also you don't feel hypnotized.
Really?
And people don't realize that. You might feel really relaxed, but you're fully aware, you know what's going on, you're always in control of yourself.
Okay. You know, maybe someday we'll try it in private, not on camera.
No, definitely not. Not a stage hypnotist.
So I want to do some tweaks though into the personal realm. All right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You kind of hinted at the fact that you're near 40. I wouldn't take it by your looks. All right. For those of you on the audio, she looks like she's about 26. All right. And she wants to stay looking like that. So please tell her she looks 26.
No, I'm good. I'm good with 40. I like 40.
So you've been around 40 years on this planet. All right.
Yes.
What are some things that in your 40 years of wisdom that you personally, have experienced, like, excitement, thrill, travel, things like that?
Mm. I mean, I have 18-year-old twins. They're probably the greatest achievement of my life. And I'm very, very proud of them. They were an accidental pregnancy when I was 21, and they were one of the best choices I ever made.
Mhm.
I've had the absolute just joy of becoming a dancer in my late 20s, early 30s. I discovered Latin dance, and it has been one of the greatest joys of my life. And today I'm a Brazilian zouk dancer, which is a really unique dance. It's very, very difficult, but it brings me a lot of joy. And I love to travel the world. World travel is one of my very favorite things, and I need this pandemic to take a hike so I can go back to Prague.
Yeah. So what's the places that you have been around the world then?
I lived in Japan when I was little. So when I was 4, my dad was in the Navy, and we lived in a little fishing village called Sajima. And I do have some memories, although not a lot. I've also been to Dublin, the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland. That was kind of crazy. We were only in Ireland for 48 hours, and we explored Dublin and then rented a car the next day, drove to the Cliffs of Moher, stayed the night, came back. I've been to Barcelona, Rome. Where else did I go? Dublin, Barcelona, Rome. Oh, Paris. Did not love Paris, by the way. And then I've been to Dresden in Southeast Germany, which is incredible if you love history. And then Prague, which is my very favorite, very favorite. I've been to Mexico, Costa Rica.
So you said, Paris wasn't good. Now you were in the real Paris, not Paris, Texas.
Oh no.
I
And
watched a movie about that last night.
yeah, so Paris was not a great place for me. So you can't see it right now, but I'm actually I have half sleeve tattoos. At the time that I went, I actually had a mohawk. And let me tell you, not common for women to be punky or tattooed in Paris. It's actually associated with prostitution. And I got yelled at in the streets more than once. And I was just like, it was the end of our trip, and I was like, I'm so ready to go home. I'm like, this is awful. I want to go.
I don't have any tattoos, but I've never thought about that. You know what I mean? Different cultures see us differently. Now,
Yes.
now as a gentleman, I had long hair for years,
Mhm.
and I can remember going into things and like, I'm a member of the eWomen Network networking thing, and I remember the first time I ever went to my chapter, and some of the girls are like, "What's this rock star doing here? Is he thinks he's going to pick up some groupies or something?" All right, and then they realized I was a business guy. But like, how many times first impressions sometimes get in a way, and going to foreign cultures, I can see that. So, but anyway, wow, interesting. Never thought about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to respect other people's model of the world. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, for sure. So I started wearing my hair down and wearing jackets everywhere.
Cool.
It was helpful.
Yeah. And be like me, all right. I'm a guy who's been in rock and roll my whole life, and I don't have any tattoos. Figure that one out. Yeah, don't have it. I had a pierced ear once, but I don't even think I don't even know which one it was, and I don't even know if it's in there anymore.
No worries.
What are some things when this pandemic is over that you are going to travel to? What are some places that you haven't been to that you're like, this is on my list. I got to go there.
Oh, Vietnam. Vietnam is very, very high on the list. Thailand would be cool, but it doesn't actually like scream to me. I very, very much want to visit Krakow in Poland and Warsaw. And I'm a huge history buff, so I definitely want to visit just pretty much anywhere in Europe. The churches, I spend all day in churches. I actually attend mass in every country that I visit because it's like stepping back in time in these old cathedrals and watching the sunrise through the stained glass and the incense like float to the ceiling, and hearing mass in a completely different language and like being, I don't know, it's just like stepping back into time for me. It's like one of my very favorite things to do. And I'm not even Catholic, but I do it everywhere I go.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So, but then now we're in a pandemic. Have you done something? Do you have any forms of meditation or anything like that puts you in the places you want to be?
So yeah, I do. I actually, I learned transcendental meditation this year. I have to tell you, not a fan. Doesn't really work for me. Sometimes it's nice, but It doesn't really drop me into a connection with my higher self, or what I like to call source energy, very well. What tends to do it the most for me is actually singing prayers, whether it be medicine music from native culture, or singing kirtan or chanting mantra. Those tend to be the ways that I connect in the quickest.
My meditation, you're gonna love this, Dina, is sitting at Starbucks, and I miss it because Starbucks don't let you sit down. Is sitting at Starbucks, holding my coffee and staring into space. That's my meditation.
That's one way to do it.
Well, to me, it's just that moment of mind clearing.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm focusing on my day, things like that. But it's like, it's that point in time where the phone isn't there. There's no electronic device to plug in real quick. It's like, it's that escape. And I think some people have missed that in meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I ask you about, have you gone in meditation, gone like that? Because I can sit in my Starbucks and think about, you know what I mean? My wife and I are going on vacation. This is where we're going to go. Boy, it'd be great to do this while we're there. And that's the meditation to me. But again, meditation has such a weird definition onto it anymore. That,
I'll tell you, one of my favorite ways to meditate is actually moving meditation. Moving meditation, Brazilian Zouk, the dance that I do, you have to be so incredibly present with another human being moving together that it is one of the deepest meditations I've ever done. Mm-hmm. Cool. And it does clear the mind, because you cannot be thinking about what you're buying for dinner when your partner's trying to lead you.
Uh-huh.
I love it. It's my favorite.
I could see that. I mean, and it really takes, I would think it would really take a good relationship with your partner to actually do that, because it's kind of like you dance. You got to be in step, right?
Well, yeah, but I'll tell you what's amazing about Zouk, and for those of you who are like, what is Zouk? It's spelled Z as in zebra, O-U-K as in Kansas. Go watch some videos. Mind will be blown. You're going to be like, how are people doing that? It's crazy, because if you are a good follow and you are present, and if you're a good lead and you're communicating, you can have these incredibly intricate dances that look like they spent years choreographing, completely improvised with a complete stranger. Wow. It's incredible.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. All right. You guys kind of got something going on in the future. You got a great business going on. Let me go back and ask this, and I kind of like to ask this of like all my guests that come on. You kind of mentioned, when you had the kids, your children, that it was shall we say, an oops pregnancy, but it was a great thing for you. Mistakes in life. Most people are trying to hide their mistakes. Have you had some mistakes that have turned out that either you learned a great life lesson from, or
every single one of them?
Huh?
Every single one of them.
That is the answer I love to hear, by the way.
Every single one of them. I actually believe everything happens exactly as it's supposed to, right on time.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, I mean, other than that, I mean, you've covered a couple of them. Anything else that you can think in the past that you an experience you went through that you can help the audience with? Was something you've gone through? This is a mistake I went through, and this is one things I want to try to help you not to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me as a survivor, the biggest thing I can say to people is question your story. If you get stuck in your story and you believe it's true and you're not willing to see it another way and it's super painful, question it sooner rather than later. Because I believed a whole lot of things about myself based on what happened to me, based on the mistakes that I made, based on the choices that I had. And it was all rooted in beliefs. And so when I was able to question my story and I was able to be willing to see it another way, I found the exit. And that is what I help people do, because it's really hard sometimes to be objective about your story and to be able to see the exit. So even if it's not with someone like me, even if it's not with me, if you are feeling stuck in a painful story, find somebody who can help you find the exit sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm.
So then one other question I do like to ask, and I personally, Dina, had a bit of advice that was given to me when I was 21 years old, just before my daughter was born. And it is something that has carried my work ethic and everything since. A little line that a boss gave me, and he said to me, Tim, treat this job like you own this business. And I have actually learned to take ownership of everything in my life because of that one little thing a boss gave me. Did someone give you a piece of advice like that when you were younger that has stuck with you and it becomes a driving thing in your life?
My teacher, Lynn Forrest. So I had a nervous break at 24. I remember the abuse that happened to me. I couldn't leave the house for 3 days. I randomly picked her name out of a phone book because I'm dating myself here. We still had phone books and we still used them back then.
Phone books, ladies and gentlemen, those are books that everybody's phone number was listed in.
Yeah.
For you youngins in there.
That's right. And it was in the yellow pages, which is where businesses were listed. They had their own special section.
Yes.
And so I literally like closed my eyes and like ran my finger down the page and I landed on her center. And when I started working with her, she helped me find the exit. And it didn't happen immediately, but she planted the seed for me to question your story. And, you know, I'm not sure the words she put it in, but it was, can you be willing to see it a different way? And I couldn't for years, but I kept trying. And so that's been literally the basis of my work for myself, to teach my children, friends, family, just helping people question their story. And that's what I can say to you right now is no matter what the situation, can you question your story? Because it'll change everything.
I love that. You know what I mean? And I found, like I said, Dean, I found everybody has something like that usually drives them, usually keeps them going. And it's so good to hear that you have that with yours. What is it that's going to be in the future? What other things do you have lined out for your future in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I am just so incredibly excited to be continuing to do the work that I do and to watch it unfold and what it's going to become. Because I honestly have no idea. I am just kind of like letting things develop as they do. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious about it. I'm curious. It's so much fun to not know what's coming. But the biggest thing that I'm really excited about is that I've realized in sobriety, I didn't really know who I was until I got sober. And as I've continued to discover who I am, I've gotten really clear that I am a pretty strong minimalist. I don't want stuff. Stuff feels like a waste of space to me. And so I have decided that I want to sell pretty much everything I own. And I want to go invest, instead of investing in a house, I'm going to invest in a pretty rad van that I'm going to live in. And it's going to be custom built. And it's going to have everything I need, including a full kitchen and a bathroom.
Cool. Like the tiny house thing. I mean, I'm big on this whole tiny house thing right now, but I don't like the tiny house because I don't want to sleep in a loft because I'm like a minimalist, but I like space above me.
Oh yeah, no. So it's not like a tiny house. It's actually a van. So you know, like the big Mercedes, like Sprinter vans?
The big Sprinters, or
the Ram like 3500s.
Sprinter's a much better one. I just went from Ram to Mercedes. I'm just saying, go Mercedes. It's much better.
No, they're too expensive to work on. I've done a lot of research on it. Or I want like an old like 1998 like F-350 ambulance because they are already built out with so much storage and they're really easy to convert.
Yeah. So yeah, my experience with vehicles over the last couple of years, I stopped going for all the old. And I mean, I've had some classic cars. I started I now lease my vehicles. And that's why I said I literally just went from a Ram truck. Like I had a 2500 Ram truck and I went down to a Mercedes SUV. And everybody's like, Mr. Truck Guy is in a Mercedes. And I'm like, yeah, I got sick of dealing with repairs.
Yeah, my car is a newer car. It's only like 3 years old. And I'm so grateful because it just runs like a beauty. And it's a great, I drive a Subaru. It like drives itself in Colorado.
Those things will last forever too. Yeah,
forever. And it runs well and it doesn't break down. And one of the best investments I ever made for sure.
And you know, isn't it funny? I don't want to take this off on cars, but isn't it funny that when it comes to cars, like I always was buying so I wouldn't have to buy again. And I had a Ram truck for 5 years thinking like this diesel engines last forever. And I had more problems with a diesel engine than I ever had in my life. And I'm like, okay, we all are trying to find the solution to get rid of everything. And yet it still comes back. Yeah. Okay. So. It's because it's a man-made device, which means it's going to have problems someday, which good thing is it keeps guys like me in business. But anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Businesses solve problems. Just saying, you know what I mean?
That's
I had to learn to accept that in my life. But anyway, what is, if listeners that listening in today, you could give them one piece of advice, what advice would you give them today on their lives?
Question your story. It's a theme with me.
Yep, I see that theme. Yeah.
Question your story. Yeah. Like, what if you aren't stuck? What if you can do something different? What if you are smart enough, beautiful enough? What if you are not too old to start over? What would that feel like? What would it mean? Yeah. Just asking that question is hugely powerful.
And it's funny that you say that, Dina, about, never too old to start over. I was on, actor Dean Cain. I was on actor Dean Cain's podcast, and I've known Dean because we seen each other on stages over the years. And I said to him, I says, he actually said something to me. He says, have you thought about, you're not old, you're 50, so you're not too old to start over. Why don't you look into maybe doing acting? And I'm like, Dean, I'm 50. I have no connections. Do you want me to try to act? Yeah, Tim, you'd be good at it. And I'm like, Dean, you don't know me. And he's like, no, you just gave up on the whole idea because you don't see yourself as it. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. It's like, I don't see myself as it. And right there is exactly the advice you're giving. Hey, see it, try it, question it, do it.
Yeah, because if you believe it, you're going to act as if it's true.
Yeah.
And a belief is a thought I continue to think. Change your thoughts.
Yeah. And I was very, very fortunate in my world, Dina, that I'm in the speaking realms because I personally knew Zig Ziglar. I didn't know him as watching him on stage. I knew him like washed his car personally. And even he had to tell me, Tim, you'd be a speaker. And even Zig Ziglar telling me that, I didn't believe it. That does not come down, ladies and gentlemen, to Zig Ziglar. That comes down to exactly what Dina just said for advice.
Yeah.
All right. It was my belief system. And nothing to do with Zig. It was my belief system that I had to get over. And I'm sure that Dina is what you're helping with people with.
Oh, it is. It is all day, every day.
Cool. So, Dina, I've had a joy of having you on here, getting to know you. I want to make sure people can get a hold of you and find out more about what you are. Let's tell them a website they can get a hold of you at.
Yeah, so you guys can find me at www. You got to do all three. You need all three. livefearlessaf.com. And yes, that stands for what you think it stands for. And yes, that is the name of my practice. And it's not made up.
Hey, it is good that you can be bold and be out there. I'm just saying.
I actually did it really purposefully. And I curse like a sailor. I grew up in a naval family. My grandmother curses. It's hilarious. It's very cute. And so like I named my practice Fearless AF, but of course it's not abbreviated. Like the actual words are there, registered with the Secretary of State and all. But I did that because I wanted it to be a break state. I wanted to knock people out of their complacency and make them stop dead in their tracks and be like, wait, what? And it works.
Yeah. And
people do think it's made up, which is kind of funny. But
I have another friend who actually she just has the AF in hers, but in her business title too. But I don't think she actually says the name because she's trying to reach kids as well, so she kind of just put it in there. But anyway, it's implied.
Yes.
So anyway, well, Dina, it's been fun having you on the show. However, as we're coming to a close, I play a little game with every one of my guests, and they must agree to it. So I'm sure you agree to play my game, right?
I did. I sure did. Bazinga, baby.
I've got 9 this or that questions, Dina, to wrap up. I know some of these might come into a conversation, and some of them are going to be like, yeah, whatever, and we're just going to get the answer and move on.
Okay.
So let's go. Here we go. Number 1, I ask everybody, Star Wars or Star Trek?
I love Patrick Stewart. Star Trek.
Okay, so my father-in-law, if you've seen the tube, like my Patrick Stewart's commercials he's doing nowadays, looks like my father-in-law without glasses.
Oh, wow.
And I miss my father-in-law so bad. Anyway.
I love Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome. He's an awesome actor. So
yes.
Next one here, I got to ask, it's kind of a unique one. Is a snowball fight or a water balloon fight?
Oh, water balloon fight all the way. Snowballs hurt.
No, they don't.
I don't like pain.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Water balloon
hit in the face with a snowball.
Wait a minute. We're not talking the snowballs that they throw at the Philadelphia Eagles game.
My family, those things are hard packed and they will break a jaw. No snowballs.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
No.
Next one here. Okay. Would you rather dress up or wear yoga pants?
Okay, I live in yoga pants like 24/7 when I'm doing body work. And I do a lot of yoga. So on my days off, I'm usually dressed in real people clothes and dressed to the nines with cute shoes, hair done, and makeup did.
Okay. Well, now we've got that down, but we got to go to our next one while we're talking about shoes. This guy got to ask girls, is you wearing the heels or are you a boots girl?
Oh, I am a body worker. Heels are the devil. And if you wear them, you should stop unless you're going to be seated for most of the night. I wear boots, Steve Madden Freebirds. They mold to your feet and they look fabulous.
Yeah. I'm a cowboy boot girl. You got to see some of my custom boots. So,
right. All about the
I even bought my wife a pair of cowboy boots and she never wears them.
Oh, I love boots.
Yeah, I do too. I just love them. I got 12 pair right now.
Oh, I have a pair of embroidered like old gringos. Oh gosh, they're beautiful.
I have this pair that there's a girl who she works finances in the movie industry, but she did like old school what do they call it? Like clothing person consultant.
Oh yeah, she was costuming. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things she did was when she first met me, she said, "What size boot do you wear?" Because I had cowboy boots on. She goes, "I got this custom pair of boots that a client of mine had made for him in Tennessee. Wore them one time, and I can't get rid of them. This guy paid like $1,000 to have these things made. I bought them for her for $300. They're the most comfortable pair of boots I own."
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, we move on next to some food products: hamburger or taco.
In the same day?
Oh, if you had to choose one or the other for lunch, if I'm buying, what are you choosing?
I mean, I have to eat lunch 2 days in a row, so I refuse to make a choice.
Some people just have favorites. I guess you don't, huh?
No. It depends on the day. One day burger, next day tacos.
Yeah.
Staples of my diet.
I was always a hamburger kid, but I'm telling you, I've had some of the greatest tacos living in the South now. So
I love a good burger, but like I love me some good tacos.
Yeah. What's the best taco you've ever had?
Ooh, so there's this place in Denver called Adelita's, and it's not as good anymore, but they used to have these lengua tacos, like the cow's tongue. They were so good. They're not good anymore, but it used to be really good.
Best taco I ever had when I was working for a car wash was the guy who came around and out of the trunk of his Nissan made you tacos.
Oh yeah, there's this one place in Denver called Taco Mex, and they're like $1.25 tacos, and they're kind of like legit Mexican street tacos because we have a huge Latin community here, and they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
So next one is a choice of which flavor would you like, chocolate or vanilla?
I normally would have said chocolate before, but like the older I've gotten, I don't really like vanilla either. Now it's lemon. I like lemon everything.
I like butterscotch and pistachio pudding, but anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had to choose between chocolate and vanilla,
yeah,
it would depend on like if it was like dark chocolate with like chocolate chips in it, I'd take chocolate.
So I had this, when it comes to chocolate, vanilla, and the ice cream thing, and I should not tell this joke on the air, but anyway, going along the lines with the name of your business, I was going to this church in Dallas, and one of the what do you call them? The not knights or I can't think of it, like deacons or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the deacons comes up and he says one day in front of his wife, "Hey, honey, can I tell Tim the ice cream joke?" And the ice cream joke is, guy walks into it, or girl walks into like a Baskin Robbins and says, "I want a gallon of chocolate, gallon of vanilla, gallon of strawberry." And she says, "Hey, I got all the vanilla in the world, all the strawberry in the world, but no chocolate." And they try it with, quart and pint and all the way down. Finally, the lady goes, or the guy at the counter at the ice cream shop goes, "Listen, can you spell the Van in vanilla?" And she says, "Yeah, it's VAN." "Can you spell the straw in strawberry?" She says, "Yeah, STRAW." "Can you spell the fucking chocolate?" "There's no fucking chocolate." That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I love puns.
And again, it was the deacon from a church, a major like super church here in Dallas, that told me that joke. That's where I found it funny. Let's move on. You already told me you don't like coffee, so you're into tea. Hot tea or cold tea?
Hot tea, always. Okay. Although I did grow up in the South, so sweet tea is like its own category.
Yeah, but like hot tea, like you doing like green, or do you have special herbals?
Oh no! I do lots of herbal ones, and then I have a favorite chai that I drink every morning.
Oh yeah,
is so good.
So we move on to my last two questions, which are the controversial ones that I ask everybody. Next one is toilet paper. Does it go over on the roll at your house or under?
This is not even a real question. I believe that people who put it under are reptilian, like cave people. I'm sorry. You're not even human. What's wrong with you?
Okay, that's getting up top to replace my best story with it. Is Cammie Baker from New Hampshire told me, she said, listen, I'm single. And if I'm dating a guy and I go to his house and change that toilet paper from under to over 3 times, I break up. This relationship's going nowhere.
No, because you cannot. That is not compatible. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah. So
it's up there with kids and religion. So.
Yeah. My last one here is always the one, I mean, sometimes it's interesting to ask the girls this, but I do it anyway, and that is boxers or briefs.
Oh, so this is kind of a thing. European boxer briefs are the way to go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I asked that question one time to a lady, and she said, well, by the time I get my man down there, I hope he's got nothing on. But I'm like, okay, thanks for that information. But one more time, Dina, I thank you for being on the show. Tell everybody your website so they both can hear it on the video as well as the audio.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, it is www.livefearlessafrankcom. And yes, it stands for what you think it does.
Well, I want to thank you for being our guest today. All right, going over some very, very interesting information about you and how you help people. And I thank you for doing what you do, Dina.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
You bet. So to you, the listener, I want to thank you for stopping by today, putting so many great comments in here. All right. Do me a favor. Go over to Dina's website and check her out. All right. This girl is the real thing. If you can put an F-bomb in your title, I'm pretty sure you're the real thing. Just saying, if in my opinion. But do me a favor. Go subscribe to us on both anywhere you get your podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Tim Gillette with The Tim Gillette Show. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. I'll see you then, guys. Have a great day. Bye.